What's the most cringeworthy thing you've seen someone put on their CV, cover letter, or application form? The job was for a programming position. The cover letter was almost a whole solid page of text describing the person's ongoing fight against aliens, demons, and some group of humans that were trying to gain control of the world. It was obvious that English was not their first language, and I couldn't figure out if the name meant that they were male or female. But it was the first cover letter I read from start to finish, paying attention to every detail. They listed acts that they had done to prevent the world takeover and how the skills they had learned doing that would make them useful in the position. How they were forming an alliance with others, angels were listed, in the battle and were great at working with others and getting people motivated to work towards a goal. The fact that they had been fighting this battle for almost a decade and had never given up no matter what setbacks had happened and how that proved they would be hardworking and can deal with anything that would come up. In the end, they asked for the job because they needed additional allies and resources that only the job could provide. If they had any programming experience, training, or skill, it was never mentioned on the resume. Really, other than being completely and insanely crazy and off topic, the resume did a good job of covering the bases of what a cover letter should do. It explained what they needed, what they could provide, and gave all the examples to back it all up. I have no idea if it was a joke, the ramblings of someone that was having a mental breakdown, or what. I suppose the other option was my recruitment letter to a secret organization. I wanted to bring the person in for an interview just to see what would happen, but it was voted down by the rest of the company who were concerned about security after reading the resume. Okay, so this one's a joke. Definitely a joke, right? Also, one wonders, what job was this exactly that they were applying to? One where only this job, could provide the right allies and resources? And would you have asked them over for an interview? I would have, just for kicks and to scratch that itch of curiosity. And come on, when's the last time you spoke with someone who could have saved the world? Story 2. I used to teach high school in the States. My seniors had to create a resume for a different class. They came to me to proofread it since I was the English teacher. Some of the jobs they wanted were scientist, lawyer, computer technician, model vet. Nothing out of the ordinary for, 17-year-olds, most of whom had no idea what they wanted to be or do. Most of them didn't even care about the assignment to begin with. However, the credentials they had for these jobs, they were fantastic. Likes roller coasters and theme parks, able to rap, currently raising a child, quit smoking, completed court-ordered community service, 100% GPA at high school, been to court, burritos. That's right, one student just wrote under their interests, burritos. It was hard for me to correct that because I too am interested in burritos and tacos and anything else Mexican food. However, if you're going to be a surgeon, you may want to play up other aspects of your life. One student, hoping to be a lawyer, asked me what his chances were. I told him that with his current and apparently growing familiarity with the legal system, he should be a shoo-in after he's off probation. Story 3. I got 2. The first was a guy who stopped in to drop off a resume at a bike shop I worked at. His professional reference was a person who I knew personally. Said reference was a dysfunctional alcoholic who had, among many, many other missteps, blew off a court date where he was supposed to testify for a personal friend of mine's defense because he was drunk. And this was the guy who the applicant wanted to vouch for him. The second was the following cover letter, which I have saved for the lulz and will leave here without further comment except to say it's even better if you read it aloud with attention to punctuation. My story isn't for the faint of heart. Almost 1 year ago, I was riding along at night. At this time, I was very angry and upset about more than one thing that was going on within my life. Letting it out by riding and crying, I felt like bike riding always made me feel better. As I was screaming and crying at the sky, asking why I was alive and how I can't take my life anymore. At this time, I was so confused and lost within my life that I just didn't know what to do. As my emotions explode from within me, I'm riding about 31 miles per hour, crying in emotional pain, letting everything out. As I'm heading home, I take a corner too fast. Next thing I know, I slide 5 feet across the road. The first thing that hit me was the pain. It was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Screaming in pain, I got up and nobody was around to help me and I had no cell phone. My house was about 3 miles away, so I jumped back on my bike and said to myself, I have to get home, I have to get home. Motivated myself just a little so I can make it past the pain. Got my sister to take me to the hospital. When I got there, they told me I fractured my whole right side. I love bike riding and fixing bikes and everything about them. Thanks for reading. You can reach me at phone number. I also attached my resume. Story 4. I have a few. First, giant word art reading cover letter, followed by a huge centered picture of themselves. It was poorer than a grade 3 biography. Second, as a favor for a cute barmaid, I delivered her resume to the quote-unquote right people in my company. One of the bullet points under her experience section was that she had worked on a group paper in college with both a table of contents and an index. Third, my friend had single and in good health when applying for engineering industrial placements. Fourth, I reviewed a resume last year that used the Star Trek title font. If that wasn't bad enough, he used 24-point font. There was also one where a guy listed as a strength, quote, I'm excellent at debating various issues as evidenced by the fact that I constantly win arguments with my girlfriend. Fifth, I've had a guy attach a 2-page list of everything he had accomplished since the first grade. Examples include, but are not limited to, 2nd place in 4th grade spelling bee, 3rd place in 5th grade mathathon, and honorable mention in 8th grade charity drive. 6, I've had one come to me. Under strengths, she mentioned God-fearing, and under technical skill, Windows. 7th, household chores like cleaning my room, they said. This was for a position I had advertised with a mandatory 5+ years of paint and drywall experience. 8th, we had a guy write that he was voted, quote, campus cutie by the girls at his university and attached a link. And finally, 9th, I had a guy tell me someone sent a 19-page resume to a company. Their filter automatically rejected him, and he still doesn't know why. Okay, so the first one and the last one do have one thing in common. They really had nothing substantial to say about themselves, because if you've got to fill up all that negative space with fluff, you really don't have much in the first place anyway, right? Story 5. I've always wanted to share the insanity of this cover letter I received about a year ago. My name is Redacted. I am a junior/intermediate graphic designer looking for work and saw your company through a few website browsing. It's a tough market out there for the new designers of the world, but I never give up, and with that being said, I am currently working for as a graphic designer. Out of the hundreds of applicants, I was chosen for this job. As you might know, Redacted is known for the lowest employment rate in all of Redacted, and I was chosen for this position from all these candidates. Sometimes that blows my mind to think about. Because I love design and I love to learn and grow every day is an adventure for me. I'm always on the lookout for the next thing out there. I have the best attitude towards improving my work and making things come to life. I cannot help but feel excited when something has come to life from a little sketch or a noodle doodle. Attaches my resume for your records if ever you are looking for a dynamic, energetic designer. You never know what might come from stepping out of the box and showing your hunger to learn and grow to the companies of your dreams. So here's a little story about me so you can get to know who I am. I am 25 years old. I have a cat named Barker. He loves to break and smash my dishes when he has the chance. I have red fuzzy hair. I play guitar and sing when no one is looking. I love my boots and will wear them with any dress I have. I do not have a favorite color. They are all wonderful in their own way. Design is my world. I always think of new creative things. For example, ever shred your lettuce? And picture a lettuce man shredding on guitar. I have the giggles that follow these thoughts. My greatest adventure was skydiving last year. Was the most exciting moment in a gal's life. I'd rather spend hours at Chapters looking at the kids' sections of books than shop for earrings. I spend my money on design books for my e-reader and Android phone. I love old pubs with folk music and dancing. I'm the girl excited for life, and every day is a new adventure. I try to implement these things into my designs every day. My design professor said to me once, you will never get that dream job unless you go out there to find that company you want to work for and go after it. It never hurts to try. And that is what my mission is to do. I will chase after my dream, a dream to be a designer of great, a designer meant for the books. Thank you for taking the time to read this email, and I leave you with my last words. Have a fantastic afternoon. Story 6. I was a supervisor for a contractor that did door-to-door cable sales. We had plenty who would scrub the resumes, and then a small group of us would interview pretty much everyone who could string a sentence together. We'd generally look over the resume and cover letter for about a minute before the person came in. I had to interview a girl who, I swear to you, had a picture of herself, very large black girl, on her cover letter, and under skills listed bad B. The email contained the N word, something like a big beautiful N91 at service. Turns out it was a real application, and my coworkers decided they had to see if she was real. So this is going to require a little more explanation though. As I said, if your resume and cover letter are typed and in English, you would likely get a preliminary interview. The manager or dirtbag in our office would divide up the resumes for the 3 or 4 of us who were qualified to conduct interviews. In the case of Big Beautiful N-Word 91, the assistant manager, who I was pretty good friends with, decided to pick me to have some fun at my expense. After the first interview, if you come across as remotely intelligent with a shred of motivation, we'd set you up on a ride-along. You'd shadow one of the salespeople for an entire field day, like 11:30 to 6:30 or so. And based on your reaction to the work, hint it sucked, and what the person they shadowed had to say, we'd make our final decision. Generally, if someone seemed completely unable to walk for the 7 hours a day they needed to, we wouldn't even give them a job shadow interview. It just wasted their time and hours and often resulted in critical reviews on the job websites, which was a big no-no from management and our client. However, in the case of bad A, B, I made an exception. I had our manager schedule her for a ride-along with our assistant to get back at him. He was not thrilled, to say the least. Alright, so I don't know about you, but dang, I would not even want to risk pissing off, quote, Big Beautiful N-Word 91. Enjoying the video? Since you're already halfway through, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content that's like hella funny, like this one and a lot more coming up. Now let's get back to the stories. Story 7. I go to an art design university that requires a basic cover letter and an art design portfolio to enter. And every now and then, some kids or friends and acquaintances would get a hold of me and ask for pointers about how to get into the school and maybe critique their portfolio. There are 3 main things that I get that always make me cringe. A portfolio with a crap ton of manga and anime pieces. I mean, you could make the case that manga is illustration and sequential art, but not really. Crappy Photoshop, the really airbrushy, cheesy, tacky things, usually of a scantily clad female with penciled angel wings or fire behind her. These chicks are usually colored with Photoshop's airbrush tool slapped onto a black background, and yeah. I can't dig up anything off Google or DeviantArt as an example, but imagine a rap album with airbrush. Dafont.com. Dafont is good in small doses, and you really gotta cherry pick your typefaces, or you'll end up looking really kitschy. Helvetica is overrated and overused, but when in doubt, just always Helvetica. There's like a list of things that are considered kitschy and tacky, and more often than not, I have this holier-than-thou mentality, but it is what it is. Story 8. I was holding down a steady government job, and out of sheer boredom and a desire to level grind my public service job application skills, I had started applying for anything and everything the federal government had listed which paid more than I was currently making. After about 100 near-identical cut-and-paste applications, I was getting kinda loopy and decided I'd throw together some freaking weird variant for the next job off the list, which happened to be in the local equivalent of the IRS. So I formatted my resume as if it was a magazine article, including inline text boxes and everything. It was utterly embarrassing, so of course I sent it off and forgot about it. I got the job, a paid relocation to the national capital, and a 3-grade promotion. I'm still not quite sure what the recruiters were thinking. So either his Photoshop skills are legit impressive and persuasive, and if anything, we finally know where our taxes are going? I guess. Not so impressive, though. Story 9. Apparently at Duke University, there's a thing called tenting. 100% of my knowledge about this comes from a woman I interviewed who had it on her resume. Because student admission to basketball games is based on a line and not a ticket system, students over there have set up some elaborate systems of camping out for a long ahead of time to get in. They organize their group around classes so that the tent is always occupied by some minimum number of people. You need a certain number present to hold a tent in line, I guess. Apparently, she had been the organizer of one of the top-of-the-line tents. She also felt it necessary to put this on her resume ahead of other important facts, like, for example, the actual job she'd had for a year since she graduated. This was an interview for an associate buyer. It was not tent-related. Additionally, she answered every "tell me about a time" question with something having to do with the tent. When did you face adversity you had to overcome? Well, once we were camping out for Georgia Tech, there was an ice storm. When did you have a disagreement with someone you had to work with that you were forced to overcome? Well, Jenny had to do a sorority function and the group was split on whether to kick her out of our tent. Some days, I think she was just trolling, and if she was, that's a pretty elaborate way to go, but holy hell. Story 10. At a previous web dev job, we had an ongoing contract with the state government agency, which was trying to help people with unemployment. The basic idea of the program was that you take a series of tests evaluating your skills in a few areas. And you'd end up getting this stupid certificate declaring that you were work ready or something like that. Anyway, one of the projects we did for them was an entire job board just for people with these certificates. The project was pretty dumb from the start, but we finished it and went live. At some point, while testing the site, our clients posted a test job just to see how the system worked. For reasons unbeknownst to me, they did not delete this job posting, but just noted in the comments that it wasn't a real job and shouldn't be applied for. You can probably guess about how well that worked. It got to the point where I'd search the database about once a week and keep my coworkers up to date on how many people had applied for the test job. It was in the triple digits. Reading the actual applications was kind of depressing. I wanted to laugh at these people, but it was just so damn pitiful, I just ended up feeling bad. Stuff like, quote, I am very good tester and can test anything you need tested. But the best or worst was the cover letter one woman submitted with her application. She'd clearly just grabbed a generic cover letter template from about.com or some other place, and she did not even bother editing it at all. So the thing literally read like, Dear name of hiring manager, my name is your name, and I'm writing in regards to name of job. I have years of experience with skill applicable to job. Story 11. There are two types of people that come into a business looking for work. The first kind has at least Googled your company, knows what you do, and has a resume on hand. The second type walks in wearing jeans and a t-shirt and asks, Are y'all hiring? So I get this number two kind in one day and he asks for an application. We don't have any applications, but we do accept resumes. Resume? Yes. And I kid you not, this kid reaches into his back pocket, pulls out a folded piece of paper, unfolds it, and hands it to me. It's his freaking high school diploma. Another one, I was hiring an admin assistant. One lady's resume said, I'm very skilled in handling administration in the correct manner. Her resume was 5 pages of incorrectly used words that spell check had probably selected incorrectly for her, and a few bona fide spelling errors and typos. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt and not be too much of a snob, but given the amount of proofreading and editing the position was responsible for, I did not hire her. Lastly, not me, but my mom has been hiring people since 1995, and she's kept a wall of shame list for all the things she's seen. A selection of a few. Bachelorette degree in computers. Please let me know if I can omit you in any way. Excellent with the C, typist, great speed with 2 Ps and accuracy, 756 WPM. Married, 8 children, prefer frequent travel. It's best for employers that I not work with people. I am very detail-oriented with the E and the I switched up. Well, I can't imagine an HR staffing department to be the most fun of jobs at a company, but when those rare sparkles of humans walk in that make you both scratch your head and chuckle at the same time, I also think it'd be a good idea to have a wall of shame to, put a smile on your face once in a while on those super slow work days. Story 12. A few that I have encountered. First, on the application, quote, please provide at least 2 different personal references that are not your immediate family. Contact 1, Ms. June Juiceberg, relationship, mother. Contact 2, Mark Markster, relationship, ma boo. Second, on a written application, why do you want to work here? My mom says I need a job. Do you have your own transportation? Different handwriting. I will drive him. Most of the application was filled out in the mother's handwriting. She picked up and dropped off the application. She called several times wondering why her daughter did not get an interview. Third, one resume sent to us, a music software company, had an image of a Doom character. This was about 15 years ago. Another one said they were very detail-oriented. However, the word pharmaceuticals was misspelled both times it appeared, and each time it was misspelled differently. Fourth, writing their introductory paragraphs in the third person. Sally excels at Excel, and in 2023, she won an Excel competition. I've seen it a couple of times, and it's just freaking weird. Fifth, I once had to look at a resume for a kid who put down under skills, expert at not stealing, smiley face emoticon. And yes, he put the emoticon on there. I didn't hire him. 6, so many good ones. We had a guy who had the sentence, I like helping people to help people and people too, in his cover letter. If we have to reread a sentence 10 times to convince ourselves it makes no sense, you probably aren't getting the job. 7th, this guy put backgrounds on every page. The background image he used was his face. 8th, One question on the application was, "What are your career objectives?" To which the applicant wrote, "The sky's the limit. Ninth, where I work, you need to be available for weekend shifts and holidays as those are our peak times." So on the application, it asks, "Are you available to work on weekends and holidays? If not, why?" And this guy wrote, "Nah, I need my weekends to chill with the boys." And finally, 10th, my friend wrote, and I kid you not, quote, "I've been awesome since I can remember," and then proceeded to list how he was valedictorian of his high school, top of the class at law school, etc. And the crazy part, he got the job at a pretty well-respected law firm. And to this day, I am baffled. All right, so if you like these stories and any of these struck a chord with you in any way, positive or negative, here's another one. YouTube thinks you're going to love it. I'll catch you in that video, and thank you for watching this one.